Good evening, Free Enterprise fans. Welcome to Randomania and our Friday night community race, the Run Back. Tonight, our racers need a hero. They're holding out for a hero to the end of tonight. They've got to be strong, and our hero tonight is hacking fast, and he's fresh from the fight. Right, helping up behind the scenes tonight, we have got Emily's Poorly Drawn Bees doing the tracking, Dathis putting together the restream. I'm Haram, and with me in the commentary booth tonight is Possum Morpheus. How are you?
I am fantastic, Harumph. I hope you are doing well also. And hello to chat out there. And thank you to our four restreamed runners, Commander Leonhardt, Slippery42, Plumeria Knight, and Twisted Flax, for letting us watch them hopefully be able to crush this seed and not be crushed by it. And thank you behind the scenes as well, as Harumph already said, to Dathis and Poorly Drawn Bees having the unenviable task of making their debut tracking on a four-person race. So bless you, Emily's Poorly Drawn Bees.
Well, and as I alluded to earlier here, this is a hero's. Our seat tonight is entitled "A Hero's Journey." We are introducing some new features with the version 4.2.0, which is currently in beta. So we have the Sea Hero flag on. So our starting character tonight is Edge. So Edge is going to be our hero. So Edge. So this Edge will be the only Edge in this seed. And when he goes to Mount Deus, he will fight the boss up there alone. Coco will forge a weapon specific for him. So we'll get to find out here what mystical lunar weapon Edge will get today. And he's the agility anchor, which should be a lot of fun because Edge is fast.
Yeah, if nothing else, Edge is a speedy boy. On this particular flag set, though, one of the big things to look at early is the Sea Neki flag is on. And that is huge as far as impacting Edge's utility early on. Yes, he will still have flame, but he won't come with two short swords, a bandana, and a black belt, and a silver gauntlet. He's going to be rocking probably a claw of some sort, if he's really lucky, a middle sword and nothing else. So Edge is going to be really fast. He's going to take a ton of turns, but he's not going to do a whole lot early on. So our runners are going to have the task of trying to find a way to make him work not only early on, but also later on. So it'll be interesting to see how they diverge in conquering those objectives.
Yeah, we talk about agility being a bit of black magic here, but ideally here you want to have a fast fast agility anchor at the in the early game, but you want it slow at the end, especially in your Zroma's fights. So seeing how our runners will handle Edge's speed, will be interesting. There are ways here to lower, to lower it here, but it's not like you can knock him down, have him hug the ground, and have his agility stop because the hero keeps getting experience, even when swoon, which is something here that threw me for the first time I played a Sea Heroes flag set.
Yeah, this is a type of seed in particular where with Edge, who's very speedy, by the time you're done with the objectives, completing mana ordeals, forging with the adamant, getting Fusoya and getting the Sand Ruby, which could be a 2-for-1, we don't know, could also be locked behind, all sorts of nastiness. But with Edge, you're likely to see things like a 42 agility anchor, a 56 agility anchor, things you normally don't see in Zeromus fights under typical flag sets. That's great for Edge, but it can really be detrimental to the rest of your characters trying to get their turns in, as they are just so slow by comparison to him. So we hope for our runners are able to find other ways to speed up their additional characters to get those requisite turns.
Yes, it'll be great to see here how our racers tonight here handle the intricacies of this flag sets here. We'll be starting shortly, I believe.
Yeah, and one thing that'll be interesting to see right away is where our runners decide to go for loot. One of the big things with this particular flag set is T Wildish is still on. There is, to my knowledge on this at least, no cap of the tier 6 loot. So there is a potential that our runners could find, Masamunes lying around. They could find Murasames, which, are tier 6. They could find ninja swords. Uh, and it looks like they have found a white mage in Porum and a Leviathan, as well as a glass hat. So that glass hat is really nice. And it looks like that may have been a loaded kit as our random kit as well, because that was a huge supplement of items.
Yeah, like having a at this stage, like in the early this stage of the game here, like it's with Edge. If you can find some better steel lying around there, you're going to get levels on on your white mage on form very quickly here. So she'll be able to um, be a source of cure here. It could be a source of berserk once she gets up to sufficient levels here to get to learn that spell. Yeah, so I don't anticipate too many problems for our runners here, at least for the early part.
Yeah, and especially with that kit that was received, I saw a couple big bombs in there and some other things. That's going to make it so that our runners are able to get through things that might be tricky. There's a Fusoya in Baron Inn, guarded by the King and Queen of Eblin. I believe that was a Murasame and a ribbon in the waterfall already for Flax, so those are huge pickups.
And Commander Leonhard is taking advantage that there is of the free key item in this flag set, and finds a Luca key that Eddie's holding for.
Yeah, that Luca key could be nice. Early underground access. If our runners don't find sirens per chance, then they could just choose to do a door grind or two. Especially if they have Fusoya access, get a ton of levels really quickly for their characters.
Commander Leonhard taking advantage of the smaller treasure, the free treasury at Troy Castle. Here did find some Artemis arrows here, which could potentially be useful. If for an egg grind as well here, because with a bow, Artemis arrows here, those those won't those dragons here won't be around for long. Plumeria Knight is going to take a crack at the Baron Inn spot here, and we'll see who the boss is behind the King Queen Eblin here. We have a free start here. The second boss may not be as free.
Yeah, the pickup of the mute knife in Baron is good enough to give this a shot and see what happens. But there's also a Murasame, a longsword, lots of edge gear that's been found so far. And we are joined by some elements. This is possibly dangerous on the second form with this ruby, unless Edge can get that mute knife swing off and just take out Ruby, because they are considered a mage in this form, and there we go. So Plumeria is rewarded for this early gamble with a Fusoya, which is enormous.
With the Fusoya, the first objective, and another mage. The key item, not so much, just the Lunar Spear, but that's something that you can put onto a Porum or Fusoya right away.
Yeah, Lunar Staff actually is going to be plenty good to just put on Fusoya and let him bonk until he gets good enough weaponry or good enough spells. He can join Edge in the melee party. Coming with Exit and Cure 3 is pretty nice for white magic. Not so much on the black magic side, but good white magic to start for Fusoya right away.
Oh, definitely here in the future. Potentially frees up Porum here to be a source of damage as well here if if a bow here or a heroin rope here shows up along the way.
Yeah, absolutely true. Looks like we have our runners largely crossing each other's paths here. We have 3 runners heading into get that free item from Bedward, if you will, and Commander Leonhardt checking a lot of shops, having already done their visit to Edward to get that free key item, which in this case was that Luca key.
Yeah, here's it looks like Commander. Yeah. Looks like Commander Leader is going to see the foo there. Yeah, we'll see if he chooses to try to take his shot at King Queen Evan and Elements, and looks like he is well as well. We'll see how his fight goes, because he does have Porum equipped here with Grapo and Artemis arrows.
Yeah, those Artemis arrows are going to be good as well. I think he has also a Murasame mute on Edge as well, which is going to be a fantastic combination. Or this may just be long and mute as I look at it a little further.
He did grab the mute here, but it's not equipped, from what I can tell. Well, maybe not.
With that swing, it definitely is. It looks like we have a Demus sighting on Twisted Flax's screen. Unfortunately, Demus not going to give us an item tonight because the free key item in Troya was on.
Premier Knight's going to take that same fight here, and we'll soon have a traitor on their hands. With Kane, of course.
Yeah, I definitely wouldn't hate getting a Kane, though, with this team. Another fine melee user to add to the squad. You have Fusoya, who will eventually be a better white and black mage than almost anyone in the game. And then Porum can be used for supplemental damage or supplemental heal. So a pretty well-rounded squad, all things considered, early on. So Dathis being unusually friendly to our runners this evening.
Well, it's still the early game here. That can always change. Not that I want to jinx our runners, of course.
I think we had enough fun on the Monday night version of this race with the battle at Ordeals. No further spoilers for those who haven't seen it. But that was interesting.
That was fine. I only took 2 shots at it. All right. Twisted Flax will soon be giving us our first look at the Antlion Cave and the boss there, and what key item, if any, is hiding there.
Yeah, now one thing also that's nice that I saw Twisted Flax pick up was a lightsaber. Even if there is no Cecil that is found or no Cecil that's taken, lightsaber is one of the top darts that Edge has available. In case of a super tricky boss in this one-on-one battle at the top of Mount Ordeals, where the hero has to go in by themselves and take this on, the dart command for Edge can be a bailout. So that could be huge.
All right, and we do see we'll find out what the key item is here, and we have a Magnum Key. We've got underground access.
So underground access, Fusoya, all within the first 9 minutes. All right.
Now, Premier Knight, just now here is before seeing the Wyvern at the Mist Cave here, did find curse rings for sale at the Mist Village. Normally, a curse ring is a welcome find, but Edge might be a little bit too speedy here for even the curse ring here to make to bring the agility under control.
Yeah, 15 agility coming down off of Edge is still going to leave him around 10 for the entire early game. And once he gets cooking on levels, you might be able to drop him from like 43 to 28. But at that point, you might as well just have him as a 43 agility anchor. That's still good enough. And it looks like Commander Leonhardt is taking a second crack at these D-Lunars. Looks like he inadvertently had attacked them with Edge instead of using Flame the first time around. So a little bit unfortunate on that sequence of events because the viruses do hurt at that spot. But you can just use Flame; they are weak to fire and clear them very easily. Or use Cure because they are undead and they actually get damaged by it. And Commander Leonhard shut off both of those tactics very well.
And a relatively friendly boss at the Mylon Z spot. You have a Doctor Luggage, Doctor Cutscene, whatever name you give him here. Yeah, all that HP is going to be divided amongst several forms. So this form here should be pretty straightforward for him.
Yeah, there's not going to be a lot of difficulty with this fight. It's just going to take a hot minute, as pretty much all Doctor Dialogue fights do. They're not quick. He likes to talk. He'd make a great commentator, but he makes an annoying boss.
All right. Slippery has his Magnum Key and will soon be opening up underground passage down there. Twisted here doing some shopping here. Didn't get a good look at the shop though to see what was on sale. I understand. Dad was mentioning that there were Soma drops. But yeah, here. So being standard shop here, randomization here. There's a good chance that sirens are going to be for sale here at one of the gated shops here. So either here, one of the 3 shops underground, the Cave Emblem here, or on the moon.
Absolutely. And Twisted Flax opening 3 chests so far in the Feymarch Cave. 4 now, picking up a heroine robe, a defense sword, a ninja sword, a coffin, and now a ribbon. Holy cow, Feymarch Cave.
That is value. Yeah, defense sword, Kane's best weapon, some would say. An upgrade here to, a sword here to complement the Murasame. Supplemental damage here from Porum here with that heroine robe. Yeah, you really can't ask for more.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic. And looks like Commander Leonhardt is our first runner through Dr. Dialogue, going to see who is inside of the chamber here at the top of Mount Ordeals. And we will get our first look at the key item and our first look at the boss, whom Edge will have to fight alone. So I am curious on both accounts there as to what we are going to find from Commander Leonhardt in this Mount Ordeals adventure. And looks like a crystal sword. So I bet Commander Leonhardt is hoping there will be a Cecil.
Well, Edge takes on the Mega Sisters. Twisted Flax did take a peek at the bosses at the Feymarch. We have Leg Day in the Leviathan spot here, and we have a Blue Robe in the Asura spot. So that'll be either the Water Hag or the Alt Gauntlet.
And for the runners, this is one spot where it oddly wouldn't be so bad to have the Alt Gauntlet, because the Conjurers, once Edge has enough strength and multipliers, can just be one-shot by a Mutant Knife. So while Water Hag here is going to be air quotes free at some point, certainly not now, because Edge is just going to get, and everyone's going to get punched in the face here really hard by Water Hag. If it would have been the Alt Gauntlet, you can just chop right through him with the Mutant Knife 1, 2, 3, 4 in a row.
Yeah. Unfortunately, here it is Water Hag, so our Alt Gauntlet is at another castle or another key, or somewhere else in the in the world, or the moon for that matter.
Yeah, absolutely. It looks like Twisted Flax is going to take a second shot at this. One of the tough parts about having the hero flag on is that Edge in this case is the anchor. This is going agility versus agility. Basically as fast as you can go versus fast as you can go. The Asura spot is incredibly quick. The summon spots in this game do not play around. Thankfully for Flax, they have this Moon Veil, so they will now be able to complete this fight. But if this doesn't pay out, I would certainly expect a reset because you would want to keep that Moon Veil for future uses if this is not an immediately great item.
Yeah, so we're looking either at some sort of progression here or like a top tier item.
Yeah, I don't even know that I would trade the Moon Veil for a Masamune yet. I'm not sure that I would even make that choice. That it's a tough one because this is again where the agility comes into play quite a bit. Is that there's going to be spots that are going to be very difficult to deal with, and that Moon Veil may come in handy more than another weapon, even a great weapon.
And you're seeing how fast that is. You're seeing, Water Hag take 3 attempts here to hit Edge here before Edge gets a swing in. White shirt, white robe.
It's
like
nice.
looks like Twisted Ties is going to keep it though.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate the decision. That's putting a lot of faith into a white shirt, so I respect it. It's going to make that Porum stick as far as being able to take a lot of hits. But I don't know, that Moon Veil is awful valuable. That's scary to me. There's something I'll definitely, we should definitely ask about, and I'll make a note of this because I want to know Flax's mindset on that.
Yeah, here, and if our runners to find another Moon Veil here, if they do take the same fight here, we'll see how they handle the situation here. Should it come to that, but
yeah, I certainly love taking on the fight. I think it's a great fight to take on because you never know what could be there. If that's the Sand Ruby, you're basically the Forge away from go mode 15 minutes into the seed. So it's definitely a heads-up move to make, and I love the aggression. And we'll see if Slippery makes the same play here.
Well, Slippery will take a peek, and we'll see that it is the Water Hag. And quick takes a reset after seeing how fast that Water Hag is.
Yeah, again, that's the air quotes free because that Water Hag has something like 60 agility, I believe. It might be like 66. It's a lot. It actually puts Edge to shame agility-wise, which is not something you get to say often in Free Enterprise with how fast Edge is. But looks like Plumeria Knight is completing their mount ordeals. Commander Leonhardt is headed underground after dropping the Magnum Key. Slippery has moved on out of the Fey March, and Twisted Flax is going to give us a peek at Fabul, which I do not recall if we've gotten to see yet or not.
No, we have not. This is our first look at Fabul, and we've got Octomam. Normally one of the faster bosses, depending on where spot you find him, but won't be long for this world. He will be sushi in short order.
And our job dwarf tonight, courtesy of Commander Leonhardt, is a pressure valve inspector. And thank you to Emily's Poorly Drawn Bees for keeping track of that, along with everything else going on in this race so far, doing a great job thus far. And more Artemis arrows for our runners from Fabul. Defense, not quite what they were looking for. Let's see if they have any better luck with Sheila 1.
Well, that's some goods. That's a dart.
It not only is a dart, but if there's an Edward, the spoon flag is on. So one way or another, that is a decent pickup And looks like there are buyable ninja swords in Silvera as well, to complement those Murasames and mute knives, and I believe a longsword as well that some of our runners have found.
All right, Slippery's going to take on the Octoman here. So while it looks like here, our runners are chasing each other's paths here. Um, no, this is our second to final week of community races here because starting March 9th here, we have the Lolly Ho League, our spring tournament starting up. Registration is open until March 7th at midnight Pacific time. If you want more details, you can check it out. Check it out on the Free Enterprise Discord.
Yeah, and thank you so much, Naughty Zoot. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. For the 5 gifted subs as well. That is extremely kind of you and greatly appreciated.
Thank you. I think I got one of those subs.
And looks like Commander Leonhardt found Sirens in Talmra, decided to crack one egg to get their Porum online and to get a couple extra levels for that Cane as well as the Edge. So that'll be a really nice kickstart for Commander Leonhardt to get going, taking great advantage of those Sirens. However, choosing not to loot Feymarch Cave, which we know is absolutely loaded.
Yeah, your looting is something here that runners here will have different preferences on here. Some, depending on the flag set here, some would like to open up a lot of boxes here to see what they can find, see how they can improve here their party stats here based on what they find here. Some prefer here to not take the time here to find those items here, and would prefer here, and or would try here to get through the through the objectives as fast as they can.
Yeah, absolutely. I know that on a lot of different seeds that I'll play, and I know a lot of other runners do this same sort of thing. I'll try to keep my looting within the first 15 minutes or so of a seed, and that may be something that Commander Leonhardt does as well, is after a certain time frame, may not want to loot anything, but let's say maybe a treasure, just because of the sheer likelihood of finding those completely broken tier 7 items, or even things like adamant armors, since I believe they are on tonight as well. So those are all things that are, incredibly nice to find. Or some runners like our our restreamer Dathis, who just wants to loot forever, which is a perfectly viable option as well.
Yeah, it's, whatever option wins you the race is the right one, right?
I think the first thing to keep in mind is to have fun. The second thing is to make sure you finish the race, and try to do it as fast as you can. But the have fun part is the most important.
And okay, Commander Leonhardt's taking his first peek at the Water Hag, and I think that's Water Hag 3, Runners 1 so far.
Yeah, that's Water Hag being air quotes free, which is to say, I will punch hard, I will punch fast, figure it out.
What happens here when an early game enemy here turns into a buzzsaw?
Very much so.
Twisted Flags has Mount Ordeals complete here, has his first objective lit up here. Actually hasn't done the Baron Inn yet here, so it doesn't have a Fusoya. That will soon change.
Yeah, he's going to be very happy to find this Fusoya. Probably will also be like, oh no, I'm 25 minutes in, I don't have this Fusoya yet. So it'll be very interesting to see his react. Not that we'll get to see that live reaction, but just curious to see what he's thinking, seeing this, and also curious what Plumeria Knight is thinking, seeing the nopest of ropes in the first spot in Dwarf Castle. And this is a really punchy spot. This is a scary one if you're trying to fight this Ogopogo. This is not a great spot to find Ogo at.
No, and that the Milk Noodles definitely bring some of his other nicknames to mind here. The Canadian Destroyer, some may call him.
Yeah, there's a lot of really creative ones the community has come up with, and they pretty much all fit. The one really nice thing, the kind of bailout here for Plumeria, is that Cure 4 on Fusoya. That's going to mitigate the big wave damage, and it's also going to allow him to heal up enough to keep the punches from one-shotting his fighters. So definitely going to get through this. Still not going to be that pretty, because that's just the nature of Ogopogo, but definitely going to get through this, largely on the back of that Fusoya.
And I've noted we're looking to see here what our runners would do here once they saw that the Waterhead gave the white shirt. Commander Leonhardt also chose to keep the white shirt, but I don't believe he used I don't think he used a Moon Veil at all. So his situation may be a little different.
Yeah, he was able to drop down to battle speed 6 and just plug away with some good AI there and get through it. So kudos to him on that. And to answer a question from chat, is it better to jump given the ATB delay? If we're talking about Ogopogo, likely not. The reason being that it takes a couple of ticks for jump to Q, and then a couple more for it to execute. And the problem with that is you're basically exposing other members of your party to more in the way of damage instead of having one of your physical fighters who can take more hits easily. So you would just want to, with your fighters, be holding A or zerking them. Ogopogo loves to start chains, so it wouldn't be truly beneficial. For the Water Hag, certainly not, because as soon as Kane lands, he would get punched repeatedly. And because it takes a while for the jump to queue up, it would also involve him getting punched repeatedly. So it's very unlikely a jump ever successfully gets off because of the natural delay in the command.
Plumeria Knight here did a great job in getting through the Yogo fight for relatively unscathed, and finds a much easier boss with the Baron Soldiers.
Yeah, definitely a nice reprieve from that Ogopogo, going from one of the more difficult bosses in the game to one of the least difficult bosses in the game. So a very much so a sight for sore eyes on Plumeria's screen.
Also trying to take advantage of that life glitch on the captain. Not sure if that went through, but that'll add a little bit extra experience here to that.
Yeah, if nothing else, it makes a heck of a slingshot for this Rydia. She's going to get, I believe that was 21 or 22 levels. Going to get a lot of spells for that new Rydia, as well as a bunch of summons for completing this Dwarf Castle.
And I believe there was a Sylph around here as well here, so Rydia here can get a little extra damage and a little extra supplemental healing as well. Not that we need any more healing, but it's always good to get that extra along here with a little bit of damage on the side.
Well, having that extra healing does free up Fusoya to do black magic. So if you turn Rydia into basically a budget white mage and let Fusoya do things like white magic, the actual spell, equivalent of holy, or quake or things like that, it frees up a lot of utility for that Fusoya. And it does look like the reward was a rat tail from the Dwarf Castle.
which may come in useful later here, but of course we'll still need to find the hook in order to cash that in.
Yeah, so we could still have the hook behind the alt gauntlet at the Ogo Pogo spot, and the rat tail holding the legend sword. You just never know.
One can always dream. Our runners will be cursing our name if that actually happens, though.
It would be warranted.
I would welcome it.
Looks like we have our runners crossing paths a little bit again. We have Plumeria dipping through Feymarch, looting some of the chests along the way. Commander exiting Fabul, and we have Slippery, who also picked up a Leviathan summon. I don't know if any of our other runners have found that, but that's a big deal, especially with that Rydia in hand.
Yeah, now you have Rydia here as a primary damage dealer here, not just a secondary one.
Yeah, that gives you a really good mix of both black magic as well as summon magic. So Fusoya and that Rydia going to be doing great work. But our runners are kind of running out of checks fairly quickly. Looks like we're down to Luca Cave, the King of Monsters, and Keyless Tower, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, like I'm trying to trace. Yeah, those are the 3 checks that are left. So we have that progression at one or more of those spots.
And it'll be interesting to see which spot the runners tackle first. I would assume it would be Keyless Tower, but I could also see Luca. The reason I would shy away from the Luca Cave is because you're dealing with Edge's agility, which is normally good, except a sealed cave is aggressively fast, just like that Asura spot. And that could really give our runners some problems if there's a nasty boss down in Luca. So that'll be interesting to see where our runners decide to go once they clean up all of these other spots.
Yeah, here, and you also have the also when it comes to the sealed cave here, I never like walking down the sealed cave and then having to either walk or warp back.
Yeah, I mean, it's better to be able to warp than not, though. Having to walk out of that is just no fun. So
I forget the way out half the time. I go into Seal Cave without a source of warp.
I think it's only the large open doors, and none of the small regular looking doors, I believe, is the path in and out. I could be wrong on that though, because I tried to never do it.
Yeah, like if the key to victory is Seal Cave here, and you do that first here, that's probably a guaranteed win against me.
Yeah, and chat pointing out is something that could be really interesting. A required Odin in the sealed cave, functioning off of Edge's agility. Ooh, you best find a Thunderclaw and pray. If that's the case, because that's unpleasant.
Well, that's one way to put it, I suppose.
And it does look like Twisted Flax is going to climb Keyless Tower as their next destination, which makes sense. The boss is going to be a little quick at the top of tower in that vanilla Dr. Luge spot. It's going to punch a little hard, but it's pretty much a freebie for most bosses. It's not going to punch super hard. The magic is almost non-existent. It's just got a pile of health.
Yeah, it's just going to take a little time, a little patience here, but it shouldn't pose too much of a speed bump at all.
Yeah, I definitely agree with this play from Twisted Flax. I like this early or I guess it's not early anymore. This is kind of one of the 3 locations that are left. I like this choice to climb the tower and hope that progression is here and not somewhere else. Slippery taking the gamble though, uh, and going to go tackle this Luca cave on what is effectively going to be like vanilla agility. So I'm excited to see what awaits our runners at both these locations. And there's an evil wall at the top of tower.
Oh, that's one nasty boss that won't be at the end of the sealed cave.
Yeah, it would definitely be be rough as to how many turns it would get in, especially because it starts a chain and then keeps starting chains and just keeps punching away. It's still going to be fast up here, but it's not going to be as mean, especially with the levels on this edge and this cane. Going to be plenty of turns, especially once berserked up. And
For
that
sure.
was double Moonveil for Slippery in Sealed Cave there, I believe 2 chests in a row.
Ooh, that is that may come in handy later on for sure.
That may come in handy in about 30 seconds.
Plumerian Knight also going to take the dive down the sealed cave.
Right, and we're gonna get a peek here from Slippery. We have
Oh, that is required. Come on,
required?
Odin. Come on, Odin. Should I really be saying that though, or should I? Be nice?
I mean, yes, you should be saying that because we want our runners to figure this out, so we can learn from it.
Oh, this is about as friendly as it can get. You just go. Yeah, we're seeing a Slippery cast Toad. Well, trying to cast Toad here. What's interesting about the Calabrina spot here is that half the dolls have a boss. Looks like half the dolls have the boss bit or something like that. So what he's going to do is going to cast Toad. The 3 dolls at the back will all turn to Toads, and then Slippery will attack the front 3 dolls.
I think he actually went for Medio and said, "Forget it to Toad. We're just gonna."
That will also work.
Yeah, we're just gonna drop rocks on these dolls.
Okay. I thought he went Toad, but Media will do the job.
And also required top of tower for the Sand Ruby. So not one, but both. But the interesting thing about this is neither of those 2 are progression, which means we have a required Feymarch, King of Summon Monster, Rubicant, which is also not great.
No. Not Adron. I'll take it.
So, I guess dodged 2 bullets or 1.5 bullets, but Ruby's going to be packing a punch still. Couple Moonveils that our runners have available to them, but Moonveil does not protect against glare, and also the counters from any physical attacks could still be a little bit unpleasant, but mainly the glares and the punches there are going to be tough.
Yeah, it's like dodging 2 bullets here, but again, you still have the cannonball to deal with.
Indeed. And then we get our second helping of Swag Rocks from Plumerian Knight. So fantastic to see 2 runners embracing rocks falling.
I think Commander Leonhardt might have the same idea as well. 3 sets of rocks.
That's pretty fantastic.
That's a trifecta here. Can we make it the quadfecta?
We'll find out shortly. But it looks like Slippery is taking on some eggs, and I believe this is in fact in preparation either for Keyless Tower or for Ruby.
or preparation here, hoping that it's not Ruby, which we know is.
Yeah, I would not want to take that ruby before I checked everything else. That's just it's still 35,000 health. It's a lot of health to get through. And I think that spot still has something like 40 agility, which is still pretty fast. It's going to be a quick move in Ruby. So it'll be interesting to see how our runners conquer that as well.
Twisted Flax is the first one here to actually get the good or bad news that the Steel Cave is required, but the Ruby is also required. So, and yes, Twisted Flax is going for rocks as well.
4 for 4. I love it. Kudos to all of our runners on Restream tonight. I think they all deserve a follow for that.
All right, here, so. All right, so while here we're runners are tracing back the steps here, going back to the Lollyhole League here. As we mentioned here, next week's race is the community race here. Will be the last one before we start out the league here. Next week's flags, though, are the Swiss flags for the Lollyhole League here. So it'll be our first opportunity here to see, to have our runners here compete officially here with those flags on to see how their time stacked up here, and what adjustments here they may want our racers may want to make here in preparation here for when the 1v1 starts 1 week later.
Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see everyone get back into the flow of the 1v1 races again, from the more community-based and community-style races. There's a fairly big difference in gameplay for a lot of folks as to how they choose to tackle or choose to approach 1v1 races versus community races. A lot of gambling happens in community races, and I think that with the one-on-one races, you have a lot of people playing it closer to the vest. Just trying to out-execute their opponent, as opposed to trying to make a gamble to win a large community race. So it'll be interesting to see those coming into play again. And it looks like we do have a bedward, and we are going to get spoonword most likely from Twisted Flax.
We'll see. Not always a guarantee.
Thinking about it.
Yeah, and decides to go with here. Rydia gets the boot.
So we got double bedward tonight. Always fun. The free key item Edward and then the Kaipo Edward.
Let's put a spoon on that Edward here. If you find adamant armor here, Edward becomes the near invincible warrior.
Well, I mean, even with that glass hat that was found, if you can get Edward just, back road and leave him there with a glass hat, he's going to survive most things and going to be wielding one of the most powerful weapons in the game.
All from a piece of kitchenware.
I guess Sheila did have the goods after all.
Twist Flax cracking some eggs in preparation of the Ruby fight here. Looks like Slippery is going to go down to take the Ruby fight, though.
Yeah, our first runner making the dive through. Does not surprise me at all. I know that Slippery is a fantastic runner, also very aggressive in how they play. No shame. I lost to Slippery in the 3-miss zone in the table round, so I know how darn good they are. firsthand. So I'm not surprised at all to see them be the first one to try to tackle this Ruby here.
Slippery got one attack in for Glare, but Nuke will help out. Will do a good job at cutting down a good chunk of that HP.
When in doubt, microwave the opponent. And opting not to dart the spoon. So I don't know if Slippery had checked who the Sand Ruby character was or not. But that
Slippery hasn't gone up the tower yet, so Slippery doesn't have the Ruby.
Very good point. So doesn't have the Sand Ruby, but maybe holding out for Spoonward regardless. So that could be important decision-wise to not throw that spoon for the long-term viability of having Spoonward instead of the one-time dart.
Yeah, so far here the fight is looking manageable. The counterattack, the fire twos here aren't doing too much here. The glare is only knocking down one person at a time. Unfortunately here, Rydia takes a double hit, so only one person to bring back up. So yeah, so this is going about as well as it is. It can go here for Slippery.
Yeah, it's a fantastic start as far as board AI is concerned, if you will. Fusoya not being touched by Glare is great. Not being touched by those punches is great. Just need to make sure he has enough MP. And this fight will be over fairly shortly. So this is very well managed, and there it is. Slippery through Ruby. Very clean, very well fought.
And we're going to see what type of progression we've got here. Because Alright, so we've got a bit of a chain.
I, for one, hope it leads to music.
Slippery will be making a beeline towards that here. Now, that being said, though, here, because Slippery hasn't gone up the tower, he may not make that trip. There's a chance he may not make that trip here until he finds a tower key. Which, depending on where that tower key is, could be a while.
Yeah, it could be a while, or it could be one of those things where if you get the darkness crystal, do you want to leave that check and risk doing all of the moon while progression could be there? I think you still consider Keyless Tower, because with these levels, it won't be that long or that bad a fight no matter what's up there, unless it's pretty much exactly Golbez. That would be the one thing that would slow you down. Now, by doing this, though, a Bahamut for that Rydia means that we are very unlikely to see Slippery get rid of that Rydia once they get that Sand Ruby.
Yeah, I think with his setup here, he'll probably end up. I don't see him. We'll see if this is a. All right, he's just taking a save here just in case nothing pans out.
Very nicely done. Yeah, nice little save scum setup there. So if this item doesn't pay out, he resets right back down to tower and then does Keyless Tower. Now we know this is progression of some sort, so that save scum won't be used, but it's a good thing to practice, especially come tournament time, which we keep talking about with the Laliho League coming up.
All right, so the chain continues through the rat tail. This is spicy.
Cleaning up a lot of the key item slots without the runners have to do, having to do much more than fetch questing.
Yeah, so looks like we can still hope for Legend Sword behind. I'll call it Ogopogo.
Oh, absolutely. And while Slippery is making his way to launch that hovercraft, we'll catch up with our other runners. Twisted Flax is currently putting Rubicant in the microwave. Plumeria Knight and Commander Leonhardt are simultaneously making omelets. So we have a lot of food-related activities going on stream right now without any actual food, which is making me hungry.
Yeah, but the one person not doing anything with food right now is Slippery here, unless you're talking about health code violation, because he's going to go cash in the rat tail.
Yikes. Tower Key would be funny here, though. Drive him right back to where we know the action is, and
Well,
there it is.
you called it.
So that means that that Sand Ruby is virtually unavoidable. It also means that Slippery is getting paid big time for fading Keyless Tower and tackling that Rubicant aggressively, whereas our other runners took on the other checks first. So, well done to Slippery so far in how they have routed. This is really playing out well for them.
Yeah, but anytime you can save a trip up half a tower is a good chunk of time.
Yeah, definitely is a good chunk of time saved, and also gets to do this fight with more levels. This fight's going to go even quicker for them than it did for our other runners.
So what that does means that the rest of the seed here is going to go most likely fairly straightforward here. There aren't too many. Well, there's still some potential for divergence here if Earth Crystal or Twin Harp are required as well. Or the Baron Key for that matter.
Yeah, if there's something that can split into two key items, for example, the Baron Key in particular, where let's say liberating the Baron Castle gives the Darkness Crystal, and runners either do or don't tackle the basement, that would be the primary point of divergence. The secondary would be top down versus bottom up on the moon once darkness is found. So it'll be interesting to see if there is future divergence, because the seed is rather funneled through Ruby right now, and looks like Twisted Flax is through and now has his pan. So he will be our second of our restream runners to get that pan and start their fetch quest to get that tower key and then see where it leads beyond that.
And if we are keeping an eye on agility here on edges for that final fight here, right now here with with Slippery and Plumeria Knight here, we're looking at around 32-33 agility on that edge right now. Commander with a few more levels on his edge at level 47 here. We're looking at a 42 agility edge already right there.
Yeah, that's a speedy boy right there already. So even with that cursed ring, this is going to be, still a very fast edge. But we have Twisted Flax doing their pan turn in. Slippery has gotten through that evil wall at the top of the tower. And they will be giving us our first peek at the super cannon room shortly. And then once they descend the tower, we'll be able to find out what our next key item is and see if the chain continues.
And I don't think those dark imps have moved.
I have an emote for this. A little bit of vanilla, courtesy of Deathus.
Well, that was never going to be an issue. Commander Leonhardt is going to take on the Ruby Conti spot here with at higher levels here, but I don't. The difference between the levels and won't make too much difference for the punches. Um, so yeah, a few microwaves later, and that fight will be over and done with soon as well.
Yeah, now the one thing that Commander does have is that Spoon Word fully ready to go. I think it's level 40, Spoon Word being level 44, level 46, something like that already. Could turn him loose and Zerk him. A little risky because you then have to eat a bunch of fire counters, but could be kind of a YOLO strat to make up some potential time. Doesn't look like he's taking that approach, but something that could be considered if thinking you're behind.
It would be viable here now. Kane has some sort of, I'm guessing, some sort of ice weapon because that jump here, I think that hit for max damage. I think that was quad 9s.
Yeah, either an ice brand or a blizzard spear would do that. So most likely the ice brand would be more common, especially knowing that our runners knew that the ruby was there.
And the chain continues. Slippery found a Baron.
So that was one of the potentials for divergence that we were talking about, was if someone does the Baron basement and another runner maybe doesn't. So it's possible.
Twin harp would be brilliant.
I mean, it gets to the point where you could end up with the moon having exactly one key item, if my math is correct on this, and otherwise be completely haunted. Or, excuse me, 2 key items would be the minimum. But that's it's not looking good for moon key items. So this could be very big as far as who goes top down and who goes bottom up.
And again, that legend sword is still in play. You don't know if it's on the Earth or on the moon yet.
Yeah, and that, the interesting thing is our runners could go through, clear out the entirety of the moon, or clear out the majority of it anyway, get something like an earth crystal, come back and find out that maybe the twin harp in Value Cave, for example, with something nasty like a Bygin, was sitting there holding it. But because that's not an alluring fight to take, maybe they bailed out on it. It'll be very interesting to see the routing and the bosses that are up on the moon, should it be required, which we don't know it will be yet.
Yeah, there is a chance here that our runners may never have to leave. The pass was freely available early on in the seed. We have a source of sirens, so we have no grind available on the Earth. Yeah, this could be a potential nasty moon seed here, or it could be something that's super straightforward. Just have to figure out the agility.
Absolutely. And if I remember correctly, we had a starting Leviathan, I think was the boss, which will pose no threat to our runners in this Baron Castle as well. What we don't know is who's sitting on the throne, either the normal Baron throne or the basement throne.
Yeah, not that many of these bosses will pose. Well, at least here for the on the throne. But yeah, there won't be any boss that'll pose an issue there. There'll be a few bosses that will potentially be annoying. Like Gomez is always annoying no matter what spot he's in because it just takes so much time.
Yeah, absolutely. Golba's just sitting there laughing at you because he's literally wasting your time. He's just he's not laughing for any other reason. He just wants you to just spend some time with him and kind of make you feel bad and troll you a little bit along the way.
And he takes a few hits and he moans, Why are you attacking me?
And my answer to that always is because you're a jerk, Golbez. That's why. You've just done nothing of value for me, so you need to go away.
Well, there's a chance Gomez might have some value here today, but we don't know yet.
That is true. Wherever that Golbez may be. And oh hey, the sprite didn't change here, so that means we have an Odin.
And Odin won't be Thunderstruck here, but he will be Virus Struck and then maybe Microwave.
Yeah, this is one of the things about Fusoya is basically see a Fusoya, take a Fusoya. And one thing that our runners were probably very happy to see as an objective being get Fusoya, because there's one, and he learns Nuke fairly quickly. After 10 or 12 bosses, you're pretty much going to have Nuke. And then you just get to microwave everything until you get largely to the moon. And then even sometimes beyond, you can just have Fusoya carry you through entire seeds.
I don't think Sid has left Baron Castle either.
Sid has not. We have a little bit more vanilla.
Yeah, this is on brand.
It definitely is. Sid was just engineering his way into this seed.
Nice.
I had to try to, join in with your pan bit before. But it looks like we have Twisted Flax very quickly now behind Slippery, taking out this Odin. So we're going to have two runners completing this Baron check within just a couple seconds of each other. We have Plumerian Knight, who is going back to turn the pan in, launching the hovercraft, I'm sorry. And then we have Commander Leonhardt going through and doing the tower key.
And this got interesting. Slippery's going to go back in because there was just a Stardust Rod in the garbage bin.
Yeah, so yet more fun. Have to liberate all of Baron just to go play in the basement. And one of the awkward things about this spot is A, the speed is again fairly high, but B, the magic is really high in this spot. So I don't know who's left in the way of magic bosses, but could be potentially scary things here with the speed and magic. Or could be Val. This will be interesting. I think our runners will be fine, but this is never fun.
No, Val isn't fun on the best of days, and completely frustrating on the worst of days here, but Tornado form is hittable. So I'm not sure about the magic defense spot here, whether it's the full 255.
It is.
So this will take a little chipping away here because you don't have a cane here to take Val out of the tornado form if one were so inclined to do that here. So in order to get those magic attacks in here, but we're seeing here the speed.
Yeah, this is
Val here doing a number to this party here.
Yeah, this is the worry about these summon spots, as we kind of talked about before, even with that air quote free water hag, is that they move incredibly rapidly. And Val is no different. So they're still going to be fine. They should still be able to get through this, all of our runners collectively. but it's not going to be as easy and free as they may have hoped. This would also be a great time to use things like Edge's Dark Command if he's not Zerked. I know that Slippery did choose to Zerk him up and just, go to town that way. But darting is also a viable option here. Things like the light swords that our runners found earlier, and any other heavy weaponry that may have been found could come into great handy in this fight, just to pierce that tornado, or just to deal all that damage to Val, regardless of what form she's in.
Twisted Flax, having that cane in the party here, did choose here to take Val out of the tornado form, and then Val retaliated in kind.
Yeah, Val was not happy that her Dragoon decided to betray her and decided promptly to put him on the ground.
So with Eddie and Edge here in full form and able to get a little bit of that additional earlier damage in here, out of the tornado form here, might be gaining some time back on Slippery.
Yeah, I think our runners are both very close. Slippery and Flax may come out of this fight seconds apart. So Twisted Flax definitely picking up ground, but they're still both incredibly close. And there is Twisted Flax through, so we will get to see where our adventures take us, and there is the Darkness Crystal. So this opens up a world of possibilities now. So pick a spot, choose what you want to do, where you want to go, and to the to the best guesser on Restream, go to spoils.
And it could all still end up being one long chain.
Oh, absolutely.
Just chain it back to Earth.
Yeah, I mean, it could be Earth Crystal or Twin Harp behind an all-gauntleted Ogopogo, leading to one another, leading to something like a package just for fun, or leading to the Legend Sword. Just put it all behind that.
You have to find the Legend Sword at some point.
Yeah. So we'll see. We hope it's behind a chain, because that means we get more free Enterprise.
And if you like more free Enterprise, our next, in addition, next week here to our community races, we do have these our last Slapdash before the league here this Sunday, and that race is being broadcast on our free Enterprise channel, 7 p.m. Eastern time here. So if you want to check out how runners will take on a randomly generated set of flags here. The Slapdash is always a fun time.
Yeah, and the Slapdash actually got even more fun. So if folks like the new flags, there's, I believe, a 30% chance that the Slapdashes can now become complete mystery flags as well. So not just randomly generated, but randomly generated from the new Tricker bot, which was created by the fantastic Zoe Vermillion. And then our runners just have to sit there and wonder, what are we actually trying to figure out? What are we doing? We know our objectives, but we know basically nothing else. I had the pleasure of being able to commentate with Bad Karma, the very first iteration of the Tricker bot being used to generate a mystery seed for the Slapdash, and it was absolutely a blast. So I'm hoping we get that again on Sunday.
Yeah, I had the displeasure of racing that Slapdash. That is quite the experience here. Trying to decipher what the seed is giving you, as opposed to just having that information provided to you. It is a lot of fun here, despite my protestations. Yeah, it's mystery flags are a lot of fun.
Yeah, they're their own unique set of challenges in addition to being extremely fun. Speaking of things that may not be extremely fun, this is going to be a really punchy Mom Bomb at the Cave Bahamut. There's almost 1800 on edge straight away. But this is the top-down gamble for Twisted Flax as opposed to the bottom-up approach. Well, I guess both of them are gambles. We have no idea. It's one key item we're looking for at this point. But interesting to see which route pays off for our runners tonight.
Yep, here, and Twisted Flax going with the triple Zerker. Well, double Zerker now.
Yeah, Mom Bomb doesn't play favorites. That was 1700 to a back row Eddie, 1700 to a front row Edge, over 700 to a back row Porum with a white shirt and a lot of other gear. It's a rough life out there for our competitors against this Mom Bomb right now.
Yeah, but the Mom Bomb, by having the Berserkers here clogging up the queue here, that in itself is slowing down the number of attacks Mom Bomb can actually get through. So we'll see here if, well, yep, and is able to get through it fairly with a few bumps and bruises, but fairly trouble free.
Yeah, very well done by Twisted Flax. Well,
that's a reward.
It's not the Legend Sword, but it's gonna make Spoonward possibly a very happy boy. We'll see where that adamant armor goes. I know all the fans and in chat, and myself included. I don't know if you're on the adamant Spoonward train here, but I wonder if it also might go on edge with him being the hero.
I didn't catch the level exact here, but yeah, putting in an adamant armor to give that plus 15 agility to that here can be, is a viable option.
And speaking of viable options, we have a Crystal Sword Cecil sighting on Slippery's screen, and we may have one on Twisted Flax's screen shortly as well. And that may be where an adamant armor could go as well, is on a Crystal Sword Cecil instead of a Spoonward. Lots of really good options, though. An embarrassment of riches.
Embarrassment of riches here, for sure. A lot of choices that go along with it. Slippery's looks like he's going to take the bottom-up approach. And skipping K value for now. So won't have that source for an adamant armor. Not to say there may be an adamant armor somewhere else in the seed.
Yeah, and with adamant armors being on, we know the pink tail will lead to adamant armor. Looks like we may have a slight freeze on Slippery's screen, but we will get that back for y'all as soon as humanly possible, and get the update on Slippery's progress through the moon. But for now, we will follow Plumeria Knight through the Barren Castle. We will follow Commander Leonhardt making their play up to the moon, and we'll follow Twisted Flax taking that top-down approach and hitting up the Murasame altar, where we have an antlion that has migrated from a cave to the moon.
Again, not afraid here to fortify because I don't think the counters will hit. Yeah, the counters won't be bothersome, but won't pose too much of an issue.
Yeah, with antlion, the primary concern is always the physical hits. The counters will max out at about 400, but the physical hits can do 1,000 plus in a lot of locations. Thankfully, the pale dim spot is not too bad. This vanilla Murasame altar, but it's still unpleasant. Antlion's just not a happy fight to have on the moon in general.
Yep. Commander Leonhardt also going with the Cecil option.
Yeah, I know that Commander Leonhardt in particular is a huge fan of Cecil, and I do want to give him a special thank you for naming Cecil Possum. It was too kind of Commander to do so, and happy to see him take that Cecil along with that crystal sword.
It looks like Slippery's found the alt gauntlets. Either that or
Either,
it's the grind, but I'm thinking alt gauntlet. I
uh,
don't know
I
where though.
I would think he actually popped a siren or two to get some levels for that Cecil. Based on the levels that he has now, Cecil
That's
already up to
right.
2088 health. So this
Yeah,
is
now
probably the second.
yeah, now I'm thinking of here, like I don't think that combination actually shows up in any of the alt gauntlet configurations.
It shows up at the Pale Dim altar as the last fight because it's the rare encounter on that floor. I think that's the only altar it shows up in. The other ones would be the King and Ging Ryu fights.
Yep. And confirmed here, it was a grind.
Yeah.
So that's a nice 180,000 XP here because the he does have 10 key items.
Yeah, and it looks like Commander Leonhardt choosing to take on a behemoth in order to get some levels on his side. I don't know if this was in Cave Bahamut or if this was out of a monster box, but the behemoths are so incredibly slow that with a fast hero anchor, you're only worrying about the counters, which happen basically at your leisure, as opposed to the physical attacks that the behemoth would do rapidly if it were against an anchored party. So this is a fairly heads-up decision by Commander Leonhardt as well, taking advantage of the agility knowledge they have.
All right, we see Slippery here taking on the Ribbon Room. Twisted Flax going to same spot here to find the Dark Elf. Twisted Flax did appear to skip the Crystal Sword altar here, so a kind of a pseudo top down, going to the top now, going to the bottom, and might converge back in the middle here, depending on what they find.
Yeah, again, after that divergence, we find that Twisted Flax and Slippery are basically holding hands through the seat again. They've been very close throughout. Slippery looked to have built up a small lead early on. Flax has closed that a bit, but we know that the checks that Twisted Flax has made going top down have not paid off so far, with the exception of that adamant armor in particular being a fantastic item that will give them a long-term advantage, but will it make up the time differential? That remains to be determined.
Slippery will definitely gain some time back here with the by having the Crystal Sword Cecil, and finds the goods, finds the Legend Sword, along with an Excalibur.
Yeah, a dart and go mode.
Now, with the forge here, with the Sea Hero flag here, Kakol doesn't forge the Excalibur. He'll forge a lunar weapon from Final Fantasy IV Advance, specific to Edge. So the weapon here that Kakol will craft will be one that Edge can use.
Yes, and now I don't have the list in front of me, but what I can tell y'all is those weapons are ridiculously good, with the exception of the Caliburn, and I think it's the throwing dart one, which is basically another spoon.
Yeah, with Edge here, I think there's, well, I believe there's at least 3 he can have here. One is the one you don't necessarily want to see is the what the Rising Sun, or what is branded in the game here as the Sunrise Boomerang, which has an 85 attack power here. You want the Mutsuno Kami, or the Sasuke Katana, which will the Sasuke here being at 95. We'll add 95 here to the attack, and we're going to be adding 100. To compare, Masamune at 65 attack. So definitely an upgrade here, but oof.
Well, here's the good thing, though. Even though they got scrap metal, that shop from Kakol, I don't know how much of that you caught, Harumph, is absurd. Power shirts, crystal rings, all the apples you could want, and white spears. That is a heck of a shop right there.
Yep, and Slippery will pretty much sell everything he can.
Yeah, I would be trying to get a couple apples for Edward to get him above Nerf Big Bang territory, in particular. So this will be interesting to see, because for Slippery and Twisted Flax again, they're incredibly close to each other. And looks like Twisted Flax is getting some apples on that Edward, who now has almost 1,400 health, which is a big deal. That's a lot of health for an Edward.
Slippery used his sales here towards a power shirt, so some divergence in shopping.
Yeah, and I think Slippery has the Cecil. I think Flax does not. So that's also going to be a little bit of a difference. And it looks like Slippery's going to take a couple sirens here. And it looks like Flax is about to head straight in, going to go without any additional grinding. So, a little bit of divergence here at the end. But I think I see some flags coming out in chat. I'm not entirely sure what they mean. It's fairly late, but not that late. Is it nap time, Harumph? Did I miss the memo?
Well, it might certainly be past my bedtime here, but I think they're asking a question. It's not a statement; it's a question.
Oh, it's a question. Okay. Well, I guess it probably has to do with the final boss of the game, Zeromus, who's too big and too bad to put anywhere else. It would just be unfair to runners to have a surprise Zeromus in Antlion Cave and just big bang and you die. That wouldn't be a good gameplay experience. So I think the question that we have to ask is, whose Tookus are we going to torch tonight?
And it'll be a potentially fast fight, or a slow fight, or is there almost maybe super speedy? We don't know yet. We're gonna see how the agility plays out here. But we have two racers, Slippery and Twisted Flax, going into the fight here. Only only moments apart here, and first place is still up for grabs in tonight's race.
Yeah, we have two competitors here, Twisted Flax and Slippery, who are going to be very close to each other. The big difference is going to be that Crystal Sword Cecil that Slippery has versus the Adamant Armor that Twisted Flax has, and we'll have to see which one of our racers is able to come in first in front of each other. But looks like our on-stream runners, while fighting Terminimus, have been sniped by Roger McBain, finishing in first place with an official time of 1:23:47. So GG to Roger.
I'm just trying to get some numbers right now as to what type of agility we're looking at here in terms of how speedy here. What type of agility here we're dealing with here. It so far looks to be pretty fast here, but Eddie's doing Eddie damage here with that spoon.
Yeah, I think as long as one of the mages is able to keep the party healed, this shouldn't be too much of an issue. The concern would come if for some reason the agility was just a little bit far enough off that there's a big bang into medio, because none of the characters except maybe the Cecil on Slippery's side would be able to survive the combo.
And we have a second place finisher tonight here. Flurry 14 coming in at 125.12. GG's the Flurry.
GG Flurry indeed. Looks like we saw that scrap metal get queued up to be thrown. It did 303 damage.
That's about 303 damage more than I thought it would do.
But looks like we still have both Flax and Slippery going through this Z fight. We have Plumerian Knight. While we've been talking about a lot of the other runners doing different things, Plumerian Knight all of a sudden entering the Zeromus fight has made up a ton of ground on Slippery and Twisted Flax, and we have Commander Leonhardt taking the full top-down approach and will give us our first peek at the Crystal Sword altar here. So some new information for us coming in at the 23rd hour.
And let's see how this is. So far here, doesn't appear to be too much difficulty in either Slippery or Twisted Flax's races, but it's just a matter of who's going to finish first here, and whether here Slippery can make up that time gap.
Yeah, it's all going to come down to that Crystal Sword to see if, well, and there it is, the Crystal Sword Cecil did get Slippery there. So Slippery does finish in third place overall with a time of 1:27.02. And we will see if we can get Slippery in for an interview. So GG to them. And also looks like there may have been some stream delay on Plumerian Knight's side, as we have a time for Plumerian Knight of 1:27.22, finishing in fourth. So it looks like only about 20 seconds difference between Slippery and Plumeria, both of which are going to be joining us shortly. And I believe we are joined by Slippery now. GG.
Hello.
All right, we can hear you. GG Slippery, how are you this evening?
Can you hear me? I'm hearing nobody.
We can hear you, Slippery, here, but
Okay, there we go.
perfect. What'd you think about that chain?
Yeah, that was a very convenient chain. I mean, everything pretty much, no rabbit holes, you'll love to see that. And you also love to see any seed that gives you like Spoonward, Crystal Sword Cecil, and all together. And an early nuke on Fu.
And we also have... Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, you had all the tools to success from a very early stage there, and you leveraged them extremely well to get through that seed quickly. One of the things that we noticed that you did a little differently than our other runners was you went through and you did not do Keyless Tower before doing Ruby, which personally I thought was a very aggressive approach. Do you want to take us through your process on doing that, and kind of your thoughts on it?
Well, I just hate running up tower twice, and I knew that I think both Water Hag was pretty much free in the Fey March, and Ruby in that spot wouldn't be too bad. So I figured, I think Fu, as long as I can keep on reviving through the glares, Fu could nuke him down. And I think the tower key was on one of those too, which saved me a second trip.
And any thoughts on scrap metal?
Yeah, that was a little sad. I mean, it's been a long time since I played the GBA version of FF4, but I could have sworn Edge had some kind of a nice little item for his quest. But I did have a good time throwing it at Z, just for the fans.
303 damage.
And 303 more than I thought it would be.
And as far as your Zeromus fight, obviously you were leveraging full-on Berserker strats there. Were you at any point ever worried about, the infamous combo platter, or worried about how the agility might play out, with effectively an unanchored party in the traditional sense?
Not too much. I mean, Cecil had a boatload of HP, so I figured he could have survived the combo if nothing else, and just finished things off. I was a little worried seeing that Big Bang, because I was thinking oh no, I have two party members and they're both Berserk, but luckily, the next swing took him down.
Makes perfect sense. That's kind of all the questions I have to you. GG from me. That was a fantastically run race. Great field of competitors tonight. So first on restream of our runners, and third overall is a fantastic result. Harumph, do you have any other questions for Slippery while we have him in the booth with us?
No, here. Do you have any final thoughts?
I really enjoyed that the new hero flag set. That was pretty cool. Hope to run that a little bit in the future. And also, I hope everybody, all the Silmarillion fans, appreciated my naming scheme.
All right. Well, thank you very much here for volunteering to be restreamed here. It was a very entertaining race here, very expertly run race. It was a pleasure to watch and commentate.
Thanks a lot.
All right. So while
And looks like we are now joined by Twisted Flax, our sixth place overall finisher, second on Restream. We're also joined now by Plumeria Knight, our third place finisher on Restream, but technically fourth overall based on some weird delay on their stream. But GG's to both Plumeria Knight and Twisted Flax. And again, for chat, we can confirm Plumeria had some internet delays, but did in fact finish in fourth place. So GG's to both. And what did y'all both think of that seed tonight?
GG's. I loved it. It was kind of weird though.
Yeah, it's very weird. Very linear too. Once you were funneled into doing Rubicante in Fey March, was pretty much a straight shot through the rest of the seed.
Yeah, fading Rubicante was kind of my play, and then I got forced right back into it.
Same here.
yeah, well, straight in which fading Ruby here, you weren't exactly punished, but you still had to go. But it was just a matter of it was always required. So
right.
You were kind of baited there because you had Water Hag on the other spot, so you could take it as soon as you went down there. And so you were less incentivized to go back down the second time just for the one boss spot until it was basically the only place left to go.
Yeah, and there was a question I wanted to ask Twisted Flax in particular on this. We had noticed that you used a moon veil to get through that water hag. And when it gave the white shirt, was there ever any thought to resetting out to keeping the moon veil over the white shirt, or were you content with the white shirt at that point?
I'll be honest with you, 9 times out of 10, I forget I have a moon veil in my inventory, so I don't use it.
Fair enough.
and I was kind of, the entire scene, really lacking in terms of body armor equipment. So I looked for a white shirt, I thought, okay, end of the game, I could throw that on Fu, I could throw that on Porum, and get some better casting out of it. So I was okay with the trade.
Makes perfect sense. I know that I've definitely ended siege with moon veils in my inventory and gone, could have used that 4, 5, 8 times.
Yes. Well, especially because we knew we were going to have to deal with a hook route, which is normally the place where I like throwing most of my moon veils. Most of the times you can get through bosses without having to resort to them, so.
Yeah, and that's a good experience spot too, so get a little power for your party and move on, right?
Yes.
So both of you mentioned here how how the scene kind of played out strangely, I guess. Here, when you open up the file and you see Edge as your hero, your starting character here, what were your initial thoughts? This is open to both of you.
All right. Well, my initial thought was, well, I can get the characters pretty easily, so that was my first priority. And then when I saw Fu, I figured, well, everybody's going to have a pretty powerful party here. So it's going to come down to how you route.
My first thought was, with the Sea Neki flag on, this is something I've experienced a lot when practicing for the upcoming Lolly Ho tournament, is that Edge really doesn't have much power to start the game with anymore. So it's important to try to find some good weapons. And I think I found a Murasame in the back of Watery Pass, so I was happy to find that. But then my second thought was, Edge is a fast character. He's your actually anchor for the rest of the game. This could cause problems. So I always have to have that worry and how to deal with that, and also how to deal with Z when he's your anchor. And luckily for me, I don't know how it works for everyone else. He was at a pretty good agility breakpoint by the time I was ready for Z, so it worked out.
Yeah, I think like the autobottle finisher so far. All the Z fights here went fairly smoothly here, which was something we didn't necessarily anticipate here, given potentially how fast, how the anchor would play here. But everyone who's who's completed so far, handled that Z fight very smoothly.
Yeah, that was a close one for me, though.
Me too. I mistimed the nerf by, I think, one tick. So the ending was a little iffy.
And somehow 1300 HP Porum survives instead of 2000 HP Fu.
If you have one character up with positive HP when Z goes down here, it doesn't matter how you finish it.
Exactly right.
That's right.
Well, GG's to both. Any final questions from you, Harumph, or final thoughts on the seed from either Plumeria or Twisted Flax?
Well, I hope you all enjoyed it. I don't know, I've never seen such a linear seed like that. It must have been quite the race, so I look forward to watching it back. Thanks for the restream.
Yeah, same here. And, thanks to Dave and it was Emily behind the scenes who was tracking. As always, I look forward to watching it back, and thanks a lot for your volunteering.
Thank you for putting on for volunteering for your streams and putting on an entertaining race for us for the Free Enterprise fans tonight. Thank you.
Yeah,
thanks.
Always our pleasure to watch y'all do your best work. So thank y'all.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
Good night, y'all.
Good night.
GG's.
GG.
Alright, and we have Commander Leonhardt, who ended up finishing up in 8th place with a time of 1:30.07. During our interviews here, we did have some other finishers here. Gundam Pilot Spaz was our fifth place finisher at 1 hour 29 minutes and 23 seconds. Again, Twisted Flats was our sixth place finisher at 1:29:27. Poitrak coming in seventh place with a time of 1 hour 31 minutes and 32 seconds. GG's to them.
GG's to all of them, and we are now joined by the man with the velveteen voice, Commander Leonhardt. GG, sir.
Thank you, Possum.
Oh no, thank you for naming me Cecil, or naming Cecil me. That was quite the honor.
You're quite welcome.
What was your initial thoughts on the seed? How'd you feel running it, and how do you feel about how things played out?
All roads lead to Ruby. I left that till the end. I'm sure I wasn't the only one, and about the only thing about that leaving him for the end like that is that at least I knew the long chain that he sent me on was required.
That is definitely true. And go ahead, Harumph. I'm sorry.
Looks like your commander here is making this trip here to give us what music, to find out what music was. We never did find out what music was tonight, because Twin Harp was in the Murasami spot here and never got checked.
Yeah, I was tempted. I saw it, and I'm like, I can save Scum. It won't be that bad. And then I thought about the walk and the listen, and I'm like, don't do it, man.
Our team's trying to get music up right now here, but if we're looking for the title here, we'll look. All right, Commander here. In terms of, I guess your overall game plan in terms of agility here, what was your plan? Like your thoughts here in terms of how you would manage Speedy Edge, given that he was going to be the agility anchor, and
well, at first it's no different. Even without vanilla agility on, you want Edge to anchor for you. Kept him in the middle anyway because you put your damage in the middle, particularly when it starts swinging a mutant knife around. Afterwards, I mean, you just kind of have to roll with it and make the best of it. I mean, even if I had found a curse ring, there's no way I would have anchored him. It's just not an option. So you just kind of push along and take some solace in the fact that, yeah, the rest of your party is going to be really slow compared to him, but at least the bosses will be a little slower too, and hopefully it works out.
Yeah, there were
absolutely makes sense.
We're hoping to see.
It looked like it might be a little jetty at first. I mean, that edge kind of pulled me into Baron early. I saw that foo there and got things rolling. And after a little bit later, got over to Ordeals because, hey, we've got the power now. And that was a very exciting crystal sword. And boy, it took you a long while to show up, Possum.
I think Crystal Sword Cecil's always worth the wait, though.
Yeah, definitely. Particularly when you can slingshot him off 10 key items. I mean, one behemoth took you to what? The upper 30s, lower 40s, something?
Yeah, that's 240,000 experience. That's, a lot of juice that you squeeze out of that one fight. But Commander, what did you think when you were diving down, like the sealed cave, for example? Were you at all worried about any, possible rudeness there that could really be a stumbling block, or any other spots throughout the course of the seed?
Oh, there's so much there that could have been rude at that sealed cave. I didn't really stop to think about it, because then I'd have talked myself out of it. But it was more of starting to run out of checks. This isn't last, but kind of, I'm in the neighborhood. I've at least got warp if it does play off, and got a few outs. and saw the adamants. It's like, well, good thing I'm here. And then I saw the dolls and breathed a huge sigh of relief.
And one final question from me, at least. Your thoughts on scrap metal?
You know, I knew I was going to throw that at somebody just to express my contempt. And I spent the ride up to Troya thinking where I was going to throw it. It's like, Edge is cranky enough. He might throw it at an old man, particularly if he's been giving him heck the whole time, but decided to just throw it at Zeke.
Yeah, impressive amounts of damage that'll deal.
231.
Better than 0.
It is better than 0, yes.
Commander, do you have any final thoughts on our seed?
At least when you get big banged into Medio, you skip the black hole and your Zerkers can keep chugging. Other than that, thanks as always to the Restream team, Dathis. I like that little run of vanilla. Wouldn't be you without it. Dark Imp leads to Sid and Baron. It's nice and tasty. Harumph and Possum. I'm sure you killed it on comms. I'm looking forward to it. And your tracker disappeared, so I can't thank them. But thank you for lighting everything up.
Absolutely.
Well, Commander here, thank you once again here for volunteering here to be restreamed here, and for putting on a great race, a great show for us tonight.
Always happy to be a part of this. Thanks for having me.
GG's again, Commander. So looks like that is going to close out tonight's featured race of the new Sea Hero flag. And we are so thankful for all of you joining us in chat, in the Restream team. Again, thank you so much, Harumph, for making this seamless and easy. Thank you, Dathis, for doing all the Restream duties behind the scenes. Thank you, Emily's Poorly Drawn Bees, for the 4-person tracking that was done. It was an absolute pleasure, as always, working with y'all. Harumph, thank you again in particular for making this a blast.
This was a lot of fun here, and we have a great restream team here. Thank you here for not eating any of the buttons tonight here, Possum Morpheus.
I did my best. But with that, we are going to head on out. Remember, no spoilers from tonight's race, and we are going to say hello to a newer runner. Looks like we're going to be paying Golden Shocker a visit. So again, thank you so much, everyone, for participating in chat, for being a fantastic member of the community. Thank you again to the Restream team. And remember, we have that fantastic Lally Ho League coming up shortly. But the next voice that you hear will be that of Golden Shocker. So everybody enjoy. Again, remember, no spoilers. Stay blessed, y'all.